Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Township of Georgian Bay with some special effects. Oh, special effects have been taken care of. God, that was fast. And welcome to the Planning Council meeting of Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. And I'd like to call this meeting to order at 9 o'clock. And in the spirit of reconciliation, we wish to acknowledge the enduring relationships between Indigenous peoples and the territories they have traditionally occupied. We recognize and deeply appreciate the historic connection they have to this place, the land, the water, the sky, and all that live on, in, and above it. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of Indigenous peoples who have taken care of this place and who continue to care for it. And we want to show our respect. Hundreds of years after the first treaties were signed, they remain relevant today. May they guide our decisions and our actions. We commit to learn, to honor sacred places, to educate, and to take actions towards real truth and reconciliation. Miigwech. Council, any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest or anything along that line? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. And though it's not on the agenda, we're going to do an item from yesterday's agenda, namely honor the woman who makes sure we get paid.
Okay, so let's make this quick so we can get.
Okay. I'll be as fast as I can.
Yeah. Good thing is I always do council first.
Right, yeah. You should have worn blue uniform today. I think that's you.
That is speed.
Yeah. 5 years ago.
I know. Right.
Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You want to leave another time?
No.
Well,
Getting old.
I'm younger than I ever was.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Please.
All right. So then, I believe the next thing is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to read for that?
Yes.
Good, let's do it. I have moved by Councillor Graziano, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved, the council adopts the planning agenda of October 11th, 2023 as circulated. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? And that is carried. And per that agenda, we have a Planning Act public meeting. Well, this morning there's a public.
Well,
Whoa.
sorry, if I may. I think we're going to be asking for referral for the public meeting. But first, we're going to see if there's any public members who wish to comment
All right, so I think,
per the applicant, and I do have the applicant and their agent waiting.
so therefore I should probably go through the routine. We should open this public meeting, see if there's any public comments.
Okay.
And
Just so we're all on the same page.
yeah,
about
all
what's-
right.
Yeah.
Let the speech begin. This morning, there's a public meeting scheduled for one proposed zoning bylaw amendment. I'll briefly summarize the procedure to be utilized for the meeting. First, the clerk will advise council as to when, how, and to whom notice of the public meeting was circulated for the proposed amendments being considered. The clerk will also advise of the appeal procedures. Next, staff will advise of the purpose and the effect of the bylaws and provide any other information that is relevant to the applications, and the clerk will summarize any correspondence on file. From there, the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on the amendments being considered. Please be respectful of time and be concise with your comments. All commentators are requested to state their name and address and sign in on the sheet provided. After the public discussion, the public meeting will be closed. Council will then have an opportunity to provide comments for clarification. I now declare this meeting to be a public meeting pursuant to section 34 of the Planning Act to deal with the following proposed amendments. Z 23-16 for 2 Island 1120 Georgian Bay Diamond. To our clerk, please.
Notice that the public meeting was sent by first class mail to the respective owners and assessed persons within 120 to 800 meters of the property subject to the proposed applications, and to those persons and agencies likely to have an interest in the applications. These notices were sent at least 30 days prior to this morning's meeting. Included in each notice was an explanation of the purpose and effect of the proposed applications and a key map showing the location of the properties or description of the lands to be affected by the proposed amendments. Other relevant information may also been provided. These circulations were all provided in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act and the Township of Georgian Bay Official Plan. Members of the public are advised at this point that unless they make an oral or written submission to council before council makes a decision on these applications, that any subsequent appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal may be dismissed by the tribunal. Anyone who wishes to be notified of council's decision respecting the proposed zoning bylaw amendments must submit a written request to the planning department.
All right, well, thank you very much. And with that, I believe we will turn it over to Planner Kratky.
Thank
for
you,
this
your
one.
worship, councilors, everyone in attendance online. My name is Jeff Kratky. I am a registered professional planner employed by the Township of Georgian Bay as a planner. With your permission, I would like to share my screen. Your worship, councilors, yesterday the applicant's agent requested a deferral. Staff support the deferral as an opportunity to further discuss the application and how it may or may not be revised in the near future. We are proposing that you defer this matter to your next meeting or refer it, as the clerk has said. And given that, I wanted to just advise you that there is no problem with the time frame on this application. We are well within the 120-day time frame, so there is still ample opportunity for you to consider it and make a decision in the future.
All right, thank you. At this point, then, I will ask if there are any members of the public or the applicant who wish to make any comments before council makes its decision on the deferral. I see the names of the applicant and the agent. I don't know if they wish to make any comments. And do we have any members of the public who have signed in?
No members.
No members of the public. All right. To the applicant and the agent, do you wish to make any comments at this time?
Through the chair, my name is Amanda Hoffman. I'm from the Jones Consulting Group. I'm the agent representing the owners, Maggie and Mike Diamond. We do request the deferral to have more discussions with staff to discuss this application to ensure that when council makes the decision, all the correct and accurate information is there, and we can discuss those concerns with staff in meetings in the next while. So we do hope that you consider the deferral so we can continue working with the owners on this application.
All right, thank you very much for your input. The applicants, do you wish to add anything to that? Okay, thank you. That means I'll turn it over to council. Council, we have an application in front of us and they have been asked for a, now do you want a deferral or referral? Which is,
If you could just read this.
read this and,
It's an updated resolution.
oh, it's up, okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. I've moved by Councillor Vocek, seconded by Councillor Predko. Whereas the agent for application number Z Z23-16 for 2 Island 1120 Georgian Bay or Diamond, request deferral of the public meeting on October 10th, 2023. And whereas the public meeting was scheduled to take place on October 11th, 2023, and whereas development staff support the request for deferral, given the agent intends to discuss potential revisions, be it resolved, the Planning Council defers the public meeting for application number Z23-16 for 2 Island 1120 Georgian Bay Diamond to November 13th, 2023. Council, any discussion? Councillor Cooper, I see your hand.
Thank you, Mayor, and you do see my hand. I have a couple of questions. Just want to confirm that when this deferral comes back, it comes back as a public meeting so that there will be public input. Is that correct?
For you, Mr. Chair? Yes.
I have a couple of other things, if I may.
Please.
Just in terms of the considerations that will be made between parties, I think it's important to acknowledge that this property was originally, or I shouldn't say originally, but between 1991 and 2014 was zoned open space. Open space properties were those that were deemed islands in particular under an acre. And if they had something on them, essentially.
Councillor Cooper, we're deferring it. So if you have a question for the
I do. I want to know. I do have a question. I'm giving some background because I think sometimes it's important when you're making a decision to have some of the background information. And I'm not sure that we always have that. I never hear half of the history. So the history is you got what you got and you don't get any more under open space. Subsequently, it was zoned SR 51. The same story. You've got what you got, but you don't get any more because it's a small property. My question is to our planner, what is the size of this property? I saw something in hectares, but isn't it about a third of an acre, quarter of an acre, something like that?
your planner.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Again, I think the substantive discussions probably should await the further discussions that should take place if council accepts the recommendation of staff today to defer or refer this matter to the next meeting of council. Otherwise, we risk, I think, taking the opportunities for staff and the applicants and their agent to come to some further revisions potentially off the table.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that you take anything away from the table. I'm asking for some information. What is the size of this property?
Through you, Mr. Chair, again, the size of the property is somewhat in question. It was one of the questions I had when I asked for some additional information. However, to my mind, the most important issue here is what type of use is being proposed, and therefore how that use should be reviewed. Until we establish that key question, those kinds of details, while important, and I'm not diminishing your question, Councillor, but while important, they are not the fundamental issue to be discussed.
Yeah, and I do not want us to go into a discussion about the merits of this particular application. And if we decide, I'm going to call a vote on deferral. If that vote carries, then any discussion would be in a subsequent meeting.
So my final point is, and I'm assuming from what has been said here, that the planning staff will have a discussion and come forward with some suggestions, but no recommendations, because if there's a recommendation and we turn it down, then we end up with the OLT. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jarvis, please.
Really quickly, Mayor, do we also have the option of defeating this request?
Well, when I call this vote, you can either vote in favor of a deferral or not. If you do not vote in favor of deferral, then I believe the discussion moves forward.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, any other questions or comments, council? Would you like me to read the motion one more time? Okay, the motion effectively is if you vote in favor of the motion, you're voting in favor of a deferral. So all those in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I counted 7. Anyway, that is definitely carried. The application has been deferred until next month. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
And now we go on to planning application staff reports. And the first one is deeming bylaw application DM 23-03 for 157 Nicholson Road. And I have to scroll way down to find out who's presenting that. Ms. McCabe, is that you?
It is.
Well, then, while my scrolling is failing, please go ahead.
Thank you, your worship. Good morning, your worship and members of council. The application before you this morning in the report is a very straightforward one. It's in regards to 157 Nicholson Road. Provisional approval has been granted by the Committee of Adjustment to Consent Application B2110 to facilitate a lot addition from adjacent lands. So as you can see on the screen, the large parcel is in pink. The 157 Nicholson Road, which is subject to this deeming bylaw request, is in green right here. In order to move forward with this, a deeming bylaw was required to satisfy a condition of approval. As stated, the lands are municipally known as 157 Nicholson Road, being lot 22 on registered plan M243. The lands are currently developed with a single detached dwelling and an accessory structure. Committee of Adjustment granted provisional approval to consent application B2110 on May 13th. That would add lands from the pink area to the green area, which is known, this property is known as 201 Nicholson Road. As a condition of approval, the committee imposed that the severed parcel must merge with the proposed benefiting lands so that they are not separately conveyable. So as you can see on the screen now, this is the piece that was severed from the larger parcel to be added to 157 Nicholson Road. As the proposed benefiting lands being 157 Nicholson Road is currently a lot on a plan of subdivision, the Planning Act does not allow for the lands to merge. As such, in order to satisfy the condition, a deeming bylaw is required. The deeming bylaw would allow for lot 22 on registered plan M243 to merge with the lands being parts 1 and 2 on plan 35R 26840. I'm available for any questions you may have, your worship.
Well, thank you very much for that. Council Graziano.
Thank you, worship. Deb, just very quickly, is this a property with a residence on it, or is this a marina?
The larger parcel, through your worship, is the majority of the land is vacant.
Right.
However, the parcel that is taking the piece that is being conveyed does have a house and an accessory structure.
Okay, so it is. Okay.
It is a
Thank you.
residential parcel,
Thank you.
yes.
Any other questions, council? Councilor Bocek.
Thank you. Through you, Your Honor. I was unable to use the map to find out the setback from the sewage lagoon that is on Nicholson's Road. But it from what I see here, it seems to be quite a bit. This seems to be quite a bit west of the sewage lagoon, so that didn't come into play.
No, from my understanding, through you, Mr. Chair, from my understanding, it didn't.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Cooper, please.
Thank you, and Deb, for your report. Just briefly going to the previous slide you used showing the area, the white property to the left of the green is just simply a separate property, and what you're doing here is all the pink is joining the green, so to speak, and the white will just be as it is today. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is correct, Councillor Cooper.
Thank you for the clarification.
Not seeing any other hands raised. I have moved by Counselor Cooper, seconded by Counselor Graziano. Be it resolved, the council enact bylaw 2023-095 to deem lot 22 register plan register plan M243 to not be within a registered plan of subdivision. And that the clerk be directed to provide a certified copy of the deeming bylaw to the clerk of the District of Muskoka per section 50, part 26 of the Planning Act. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.
Microphone, please.
Thank you for the reminder. My apologies. I say our next application is local planning appeal tribunal for the decision of July 21st, 2020 for zoning bylaw amendment application Z 18-22. And with that, I'll say to our planner, Ms. McCabe, I believe you're doing this one as well.
Yeah, thank you, your worship. This is strictly a housekeeping matter, as it was before LPAT, and a decision was issued on July 21st, 2020. The subject lands were subject to a zoning bylaw amendment file Z 1822 that was refused by council on July 8th, 2019. The decision of council on the zoning bylaw amendment was appealed by the property owners themselves. Township staff did enter into negotiations with the appellant, and minutes of settlement were issued by LPAT dated June 30th, 2020. Subsequently, LPAT issued the decision on the matter in July of that year. The adoption of the zoning bylaw amendment has been ordered by LPAT, which is a formality at this point in the process. So once the actual zoning bylaw amendment has been giving a bylaw number, the file will be closed.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Council, any questions with regards to this? Counselor Cooper, please.
Excuse me. Thank you. And Deb, could you just at 10,000 feet, tell us what we agreed to with the owner?
Through you, your worship, I'll have to look that up because I don't have it right in front of me, but I will definitely look it up and let you know, Councillor Cooper.
Thank you.
Was this not the one on 12 Mile Bay where they wanted to basically put a second floor onto their cottage?
That is exactly correct, your worship, and council denied it at the time. Basically, they put a hold on it when the LPAT approved it. They did put a hold on the property until such time as it could come back before council to have that hold removed. The hold was put on the property in order to ensure that the septic system was put in place and was built according to the Ontario Building Code. So the holding cannot be lifted until such time as a septic system has been approved and is final by the building department. The building department has issued the permit, the septic system has been put in, and now we're just waiting for basically grass to grow so they can finalize the permit process. So basically we just went along with the fact that the owner can move forward provided that the septic system is in place.
So with what we're doing today, we're not lifting the whole.
We're not doing anything
Okay.
except just giving a bylaw number to a bylaw that was approved by LPAT.
But let's see.
The hold is still in place. It will remain in place until such time as the owner brings forward an application to remove the hold.
Thank you.
a follow-up question, please.
Please.
And just so I'm happy to approve this today, but in terms of the approval for the septic system, I would imagine that the septic system that's being put in place is meeting all applicable law, not just the OBC, but our bylaws. In other words, a 30-meter setback. Is that correct?
Through you, your worship. Yes, that is correct, Councillor Cooper. Everything is being done according to not only the zoning bylaw, but also the Ontario Building Code.
Well, the most restrictive are our zoning bylaws, so I just want to make sure that we're meeting those. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Seeing none at this point, I have moved by Councillor Predko, seconded by Councillor Hazelton. Be it resolved that council enacts bylaw 2023-096, being a zoning bylaw amendment as per the local planning appeal tribunal decision dated July 21st, 2020 for case number PL 190363. And that the zoning bylaw 2014-75 be further amended as per the direction and decision of the local planning tribunal dated July 21st, 2020. For the lands described as Island 402.5, former Township of Freeman, Township of Georgian Bay, District Municipality Muskoka, and municipally known as 2 Island 4630, Georgian Bay. And the bylaw reflect the decision of the local planning appeal tribunal by rezoning the lands to residential island type 1 exception 58 holding or SRI 1-58H. In zoning bylaw 2014-75. All those in favor? And I'm seeing enough hands to say that is carried. Thank you. And Ms. McCabe, I believe this one's yours again for Ontario Land Tribunal, North Pacific Investments decision, August 31st, 2023.
Thank you, your worship. This again is a housekeeping matter based on a decision that came down from the OLT in regards to zoning bylaw amendment application Z 2215. The subject lands were subject to a zoning bylaw approved by council on February 14th of this year. The zoning amendment was appealed by the property owners themselves. Township staff did enter into negotiations with the appellant, and minutes of settlement were issued by the OLT dated July of this year. And subsequently, the tribunal issued the decision on the matter dated August 31st, 2023. The adoption of the zoning bylaw amendment has been ordered by the tribunal, which is a formality at this point in the process.
Thank you. And was this the large lot that we had proposed some subsequent zoning detail, if I can put it that way, which the applicant did not accept?
That's correct, your worship. It's for 1300 Honey Harbor Road.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Okay, I have moved by Councillor Graziano, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved that council enacts bylaw 2023-097, being a zoning bylaw amendment as per the Ontario Land Tribunal decision dated August 31st, 2023 for case number OLT-23-000247. And that zoning bylaw 2014-75 be further amended as per the direction decision of the Ontario Land Tribunal dated August 31st, 2023 for the lands described as lots 29 and 30, concession 7, former Township of Baxter, Township of Georgian Bay, known municipally as 1300 Honey Harbor Road. And that the bylaw reflect the decision of the Ontario Land Tribunal as it relates to the current zoning of open space type 1 or OS-1 to rural exception 10, RU 10, and rural exception 10 holding, RU-10-H. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, and the next matter in front of us is a minor variance fee refund application or proposal. And Mr. Kratky, I believe you are presenting this item.
Thank you, your worship. And with your permission, I will share my screen. In 2022, the applicant, Mr. Wright, applied for essentially the same development on his property, and it went to our Committee of Adjustment with staff recommending approval. The committee gave the approval of the required minor variance. However, it was later discovered that both parties, through mutual mistake, had overlooked a hydroelectric power corridor, and as well that the purpose and effect of the application was insufficient to allow the zoning bylaw to be properly varied to allow for the proposed development. Essentially, on the screen, you see an image of both the existing, the 2022 proposed, and in the darkest color, the proposed 2023 development. It is essentially the same redevelopment of the property. And I am asking council to waive the current minor variance application fee, as through mutual mistake, it does not seem equitable for the applicant to be forced to pay for a second minor variance to the township.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Councillor Graziano, please.
Thank you. And through your worship, just very quickly, this is the second of a similar situation for Echo Bay Road that we've had this year. And I do agree with the fact that, yes, we should be reimbursing the applicant for this. But I am concerned that Echo Bay Road specifically has some concerns with regards to both of their applications, or at least two of their applications, having to come back to committee again multiple times. So just my comments on that. I do agree with this, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Jarvis, please.
Pertinent to ask, have that drawing pulled back up and indicate where the hydro corridor was, whatever, how it relates to the property? Just curious. Yeah. Right.
Jeff, your
Missing
speaker's
Jeff's
off.
microphone.
Microphone.
Sorry, I apologize. So the hydroelectric power corridor is approximately here on the property. The setback is located here. The proposed dwelling in 2022 was there. This existing guest cabin is being moved, sleeping cabin is being moved to this location through development, which actually then brings it in to conformity with the required setback. But having said that, again, this was an oversight on both the applicants and the township staff's part. And so it is necessitating the application go to the committee again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bocheck, please.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor. The question is, the planning department, is this a standard practice or a policy of ours to refund rather than, I believe you said this would be coming back to the Committee of Adjustments. In my mind, it would make more sense that we just have him come back and not charge him for the second Committee of Adjustments hearing. But if it's a policy that we have to go through this refund first and then they have to pay a second time, then I understand it. I just want clarity on that. Thank you.
So yes, when an applicant makes an application to the township, they must pay the fee for consideration to begin. And unfortunately, staff have, to my knowledge, not been delegated the authority to waive a fee. Greg actually was the acting director of planning at the time that I brought this to his attention and asked him for permission to see you today. The committee will actually be considering this application later this week. The applicants didn't want to wait for your decision, so they are proceeding regardless. But again, in fairness and equity, I bring this to you with the request that you consider refunding their second application fee for the same development.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments, and certainly is an equitable solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, I have moved by Counselor Jarvis, seconded by Counselor Bocheck. Be it resolved that council for the Township of Georgian Bay authorize reimbursing the application fee of $1,200 to Sprout Studios, Inc. on behalf of Thomas James Alwyn Wright as owner and applicant for minor variance application number 23-41 regarding the subject lands municipally known as 134 Echo Bay Road. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Counselor Hazelton.
It's on. So I'd like to take the opportunity here to make a comment about the building department. And that is, I'm going to read one clause from the first application that we deferred. And the clause was the development proposed by the application includes a building permit. That the agent of the is of the opinion it's a dryland boathouse, while in my opinion, it is a sleeping cabin. And I wanted to highlight that this is the first time I've heard our planning department take the opinion that they have assessed from the development and used that. Whereas in the past, we have always been told by our planning department that if the applicant calls it a duck, it's a duck, and we're going to use it as a duck. And I think this is a very fresh and an appropriate way of looking at things. And I thank you very much for leveraging your expertise and your knowledge and your insight when reviewing an application and not taking it at face value. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda are closed sessions, and I believe those are scheduled for this afternoon. So that we should probably recess at this time. But you have other paperwork in front of you.
Well, I was wondering. My recommendation was perhaps to do a motion to extend past 4:30. Do a resolution now to go into closed at 1:30, and then we can just come back to closed at 1:30.
Okay, sounds very practical. So I have moved by Counselor Bocheck, seconded by Counselor Predko. Be it resolved, the planning council extends past 4:30 PM, but no later than 6 PM. So that means that if we're enclosed at 4:30, we don't have to come out into open and say, please let us stay longer enclosed. Sorry about that. All those in favor? Oh, Counselor Cooper.
Just a question. So we're going to in a recess in a sense till 1 o'clock or 1:30. I didn't hear all of our clerk's comments. And is there any reason we can't move this up and deal with it?
Well, apparently we have two guests involved, and one guest is available at 1:30 to present information, and the other one is available at 3:30. And therefore, we unfortunately have to wait until that time. It's my understanding that this was discussed on Friday. Unfortunately, I was not at that meeting, so I was not privy to that discussion.
Well, I understood that there was a discussion. I was hoping we'd been able to work out better time arrangements, but I guess it is what it is. That's too bad. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Counselor Predko.
Yes,
Oh, I haven't called. Are you voting?
I'm sorry, I had to step away. I will not vote.
Okay, I have moved by Counselor Bocheck, seconded by Counselor Predko. Be it resolved, the planning council extends past 4:30 PM, but no later than 6 PM. All those in favor? And that is carried. And the optimist in me is hoping that we won't go too far past, but only time will tell. I have moved by Counselor Cooper, seconded by Counselor Graziano, where section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended provides authority for councils of municipalities to close a meeting or parts of a meeting to the public if the subject matter pertains to a matter identified in section 239(2). And whereas the council of the Township of Georgian Bay deems it necessary to close this portion of the meeting in order to address matters under the following sections of 239(2). CAO KPI setting, personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations, or employee negotiations. And temporary use bylaw application Z 22-12, OBD Developments, Inc. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications for that purpose. Now be it resolved that Council Township of Georgian Bay moves into closed session of council at, you want this current time or at 1:30 PM. All those in favor? All right, and that is carried. So at this point, we will recess at 9:41 to reconvene at 1:30 in closed. Hopefully that's clear to everyone. Sorry? Only for Mike's on.
Sorry, is this about, or is this just a general question?
General question.